Okay, so this video is going to be super controversial because it's about both mistyping in MBTI and the diagnosis of ADHD, two things which people hold extremely close to their sense of identity and get like really sensitive and butthurt about if you say something wrong. So it really should come with a ton of disclaimers, but instead of playing to the stupidest people on the internet who think that I'm a doctor, I'm just going to roll with it and expect you to use your common sense in judgment of this video and of what I'm saying. So recently, at the age of 33, I finally got diagnosed with ADHD. And in learning about it and researching it more, I really think that it was responsible for me mistyping as an NE-DOM, because when you look at things like descriptions of ADHD, especially the more positive qualities, and descriptions of extroverted intuitive types, the two tend to overlap a lot. So I think that there could be a lot of other people out there who are mistyping as extroverted intuitives, ENTP and ENFP when they really have SE, or maybe they're SJs, like who knows, but they're mistyping in this way because of ADHD. So I'm going to share my screen. Where is that? Where is that button? There it is. Okay. And I was just looking at, all right, here, some of the positive attributes of ADHD, like creativity and spontaneity, great problem solving skills, endless amounts of energy, hyper focus, but at the same time, no focus. So you're either completely focused in or, completely distracted. There are two different types of ADHD, which are like, the hyperactive type and the inattentive type, which I tend more towards the inattentive type. But losing important things, inattentiveness, daydreaming and zoning out, impatience, talking excessively without stopping, and having a hard time following instructions. And then we go over to things like over here, descriptions of extroverted intuitives. They're original and independent. Well, first of all, like who isn't, who doesn't consider at least themselves to be like that? Love starting and initiating creative projects, but struggle with completing them. That is also a sign of ADHD. Works in bursts of impulsive energy. So kind of like the hyper focus or no focus. Hating routine. That's also a sign of ADHD, struggling with that. Seek and trust inspiration and willing to follow it anywhere, tend to be enthusiastic and good with people, love to inspire and motivate others, find hidden patterns, possibilities, and potentials, see so many alternatives that they have trouble focusing on just one. So, an ADHD, or even if they're an SE type or just not a lead NE, might think that they do this just because of their inability to focus on one thing. But it's not really so many alternatives. It could be. So I'm having a hard day with ADHD today, so I decided to make this video. But what I get is what I call like laundry in the hallway energy, where I pick up the laundry and I'm carrying it to the washing machine, and on the way I see something else and I'm like, oh, I need to engage with that now. And then I see something else and I'm like, oh, I need to engage with that. And then by the end of the day, I have started like 20 things and I have completed nothing, and the laundry is still in the hallway. So that could be confused as like seeing a lot of possibilities and alternatives, but it's really just ADHD. So open-minded and slow to form premature conclusions. A lot of these line up with qualities that people who have ADHD, even if they're not lead NEs, tend to see in themselves. So I think that this could lead to a lot of mistypes, and that's why, no shade on the people who made this website. But I think that this description of any, and a lot of the descriptions of any out there, aren't really helpful. So, a good way that I figured out that I'm not a lead NE. Well, one is I got retyped. But now that I understand the difference better of NE and SE, and I can type lead NEs better because I myself am more correctly typed, I realized that it's very hard for me to listen to them. Like, and no hate, no shade to like you lead NEs out there, but you probably have a hard time listening to me as well. For example, John Bibi is an ENTP, and I have tons of respect for him. I want to absorb his theories and thoughts on type, but it's very difficult. His lectures or his videos are challenging to listen to, and his books are frustrating because he talks like lead NEs do, around the topic instead of like going directly at it. And to me, when he's speaking, I'm always waiting for the moment that he's going to actually get at the thing, and it never arrives. Like, it sounds to me like the NE DOMs are giving a huge preface for what they're going to say, for their big like bang points, but they never arrive at the point. So they just, it sounds like preface, and then they get on to another topic and just preface. And I'm like, oh my God, this has been going on for hours and you haven't said the thing. But I'm like, I know it's in there. I want to get at it. What is this big insight and revelation and conclusion, the NI insight and conclusion to the thing, but they never arrive at it. So it leaves me to like try to interpret it for myself and arrive at it sort of for them. So it's very frustrating for me to listen to them. And, I don't think John Bibi would be at all offended by this. He knows how he talks, and he talks about it. And he says in one of the videos I watch how it's difficult for him to talk to and communicate with people who have a high SE. So, it's mutual, but I hope that the respect is mutual as well. So, that's a big hint for do you have NE or SE? Because even though I have many of the qualities of an NE user because of ADHD, I don't actually talk like one. And I get very impatient when people do. So, if you're trying to figure out if you've got NE or SE, a book that I would highly recommend is Dario Nardi's The Magic Diamond. And that is an awesome book for not only understanding the cognitive functions, but also the downsides of them, like when you are in a negative pattern in your life, and how to break that pattern. Is a great book for self-development, which is ultimately the point of understanding typology. So please tell me if this video struck a chord with you at all, was useful. If you want to now look into your type and the possibility of you maybe being a different type, or having an ADHD diagnosis that is causing a mistype there. Because, something I noticed in my life is I thought, well, I could not possibly be a high SE person because I miss so much. I am just like up here in la la land. I'm not paying attention to anything. I am always just in my head and kind of like glazing over my eyes. But like, that's not, turns out that's not NE. That is just my inattentive subtype of ADHD, where I lose focus. And so I don't see the things that are directly in front of me. So it's hard for me to relate with that, like description of being the master of the sensory world. I'm like, I am not. So, but yeah, no, that's another troublesome description of SE being focused in only on the senses. And Dario talks about, like, two different manifestations of each of the cognitive functions. And I think he describes it sort of as in like a masculine and feminine type of form. I don't think he uses those exact words, but one form is the very like engaged and present type, work with your hands, make things, create. And the other is a more flowy, I would say, form of it, where it's more about like taking in and just kind of enjoying and being like wanting to engage with like different smells and different environments and feeling them out, kind of. So there's sort of like that quiet form versus the more like dominant form of SE, and for all of the cognitive functions as well. So that can as well lead to mistypes, because one is more passive while one is more active, and it's more easy to notice and to type the active in front of you form of any of the cognitive functions. So the way he discovered this was through his scans of the brain, where he found that for NE there was still this pattern going on, even though one NE user is like the stereotypical like Barnum and Bailey like marketer that he describes, and the other is it's still going on, but it's a very quiet internal form. So yes, I would recommend reading that book. And once again, I do not consider myself a doctor. I am only speaking from my experience here and trying to provide a helpful insight through some commonalities that I observe for the descriptions of ADHD and NE. So please like and subscribe to support this channel. Thanks.